Hello, I would like the audience to understand how social media affects mental health and understanding how you control it and how much you are on it per day. Social media has an enormous impact of our everyday lives and have known to have a negative impact to young children and young adults mentally. How many of you are in social media? How many hours do you use it per day? According to the Pew Research, 69% of adults and 81% of teens use social media. That puts a large amount of this population in this nation at an increased risk of feeling anxious, depressed, thoughts of suicide, and even a personality disorder. I can't lie. The first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I check my phone about 95% of the time unless I'm in a rush. I have constantly compared myself to social media, meaning like I see someone who is doing better than I am. I see someone who is in better shape, and I tend to, lose a little bit of self-esteem and compare myself to others. So I can say that social media has impacted me mentally. Mental health has been studied for decades but social media is the biggest use on your phone. And there's an increase for depression, self-harm, anxiety, suicide thoughts. Yes, social media can have an impact, but at the same time, there has been a negative inadequacy of everyday lives. Although I will cover the issue of social media affecting mental health, I first like to discuss how social media has progressed over the years and how it kind of changed and it's kind of not the same as what it used to be. Let's start with MySpace. I'm just going to use that as an example because that was my very first social media that I got, which was probably about 10 years ago, and I used it to honestly just for friends, and it was just a way for us to kind of communicate before anything kind of ever happened. And then it kind of got bigger. Facebook came around, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, the biggest platforms of social media today. Social media was intentionally for business networking. It was a way to hang out a way to communicate with friends. It was a way to communicate with family, whether you lived close or whether you were states away. Yes, there is marketing today and people use it for the same thing today, but it's a lot different. Now people use it for blogs, or now people use it, YouTube for vlogs. There's so many variations that people kind of use social media as a way to make their income versus using social media to make contact with their friends or family. It's now people make a use out of it for income rather than, like I said. People also use social media as a way to express themselves without being judged, such as Tumblr. You could be anonymous and no one would ever know that was you, and it was a freedom of speech and a way to not be judged and be who you were. Social media has its way to boost it started affecting people's health mentally. Now, such as social media was used or is used to boost your kind of ego a little bit. It's a way to get yourself validation for that moment. It's a way to, you post a picture and you're wanting to see people to see those comments, and it's a way for self-improvement for that second. It's kind of like a temporary happiness, or if you're kind of missing a feeling, social media will go ahead and pick that up right after you. It also makes you self-conscious, as in why didn't that person like my picture, but why did this person like this picture but didn't like my picture? It kind of puts questions into your thought, maybe this picture wasn't good enough. So then it makes you question that self-validation, and it's kind of okay, well, was this worth it? And then your temporary happiness kind of goes away. There was a study then that showed people on how many hours they spent on social media, meaning if you spent 2 or more hours, about 60 visits per week, it shows that there was self-isolation. And it's because 2 reasons. For one, they felt isolated in real life, and it was a way for them to kind of get in the moment, meaning to kind of feel in the loop. So they kind of use social media to feel like that. And also it does self-isolation, as in you're socially awkward in person, meaning you don't know how to talk to people because you're so used to just looking down on your phone. And it gives people, and this is how anxiety is kind of contributed, because people don't really know how to act in real life. FOMO, fear of missing out, in the dictionary means uneasy and sometimes an all-consuming feeling. Though people may have FOMO, they tend to have a lot of self-comparison physically and emotionally, which can cause depression. Now let's look at the bigger picture. The second problem is it as a whole in the US nation. About 79% of the US population uses social media. And this is actually a good reason how people this is actually a reason why, it's not a whole reason, but it's a reason why people are on medication for anxiety, for depression, because they're consuming social media a lot more. Social media can be an addiction. It's just like drug or alcohol. It's an abuse. It's a substance abuse, and you find yourself craving it and wanting it. So it is crazy to think about. Social media can cause depression, anxiety, personality disorder, which also can. Social media has also caused, suicide, which is not okay. Cyberbullying is a big factor. More people, since more people are on social media, it's an easier way to set hateful comments to one another versus what it was back in the day. It's such an easy way to access, and it's such an easy way to express yourself or say negative things to other people. Now, that's just a way of being on social media. Now, there could be a small solution to doing this. Cutting out social media. People always think like, what can I do with my free time? And honestly, you can do so much. You can, take on walks, you can enjoy nature, you can read books. If you cut out a little bit of social media time, you will definitely note a difference in your life. You will start to be happier. You will see the brighter things of life, and you will actually see that there's more to life than just being on social media. Yes, social media is addicting, and yes, you're going to want to be on it, but if you can just deprive yourself or take out, 1 hour at a day, because you can be on it for 8 to 10 hours a day without even realizing, you'll notice like, oh my God, like I'm able to spend time with loved ones more. I'm able to spend time and do a lot of things a lot more rather than just looking down at my phone at all times. You'll notice a difference. You'll notice a different outlook towards life. And I feel like when you see this, there'll be less depression rate, there'll be less anxious rate. You'll actually know how to communicate with people. And you'll notice just a different outlook in life. Today I talked about how social media was first used, how it changed people's life mentally, and just a small portion of what you can do to change your life and not use social media and depend on social media so much. Now I have one motto for you. No posting, no liking, less communicating, just living and accomplishing more. Do less on yourself and do more for your soul.